Hello everyone, and today we're going to be talking about a deck that I am probably going to be playing a lot in the near future. We've got pure Punk. We finally bit the bullet and got the rest of the cards we were needing, and I am super impressed by this deck. Honestly, you just draw a million cards, you have a bunch of negates in your hand, you bounce a bunch of cards, super aggressive as well, easy OTKs. This deck just does it all. It really is incredible. We're going to be doing a card for card profile at the end. In terms of combos, realistically, all you really have to do is get access to this lad here, right? And you'll usually do that either just by, opening up with him, or by summoning Xiamen and Xiamen then searching for him. The Xiamen search is usually a little bit better because it means you've also got your second Punk monster that you need its material. So no, basically you're just looking to get access to our friend here who can fusion summon off into our Carp, and then you just get gaming from there. I'm not going to spend too long on the combos now because we do cover them off in the gameplay. It is a bit of a combo heavy strategy. I did get a couple of new cards here with the release, the Deer Note, which is phenomenal, the Field Spell, which is phenomenal, an Extender from Hand plus a Pot of Greed. We've got a Spell Search now, Wagon, who is pretty dope. And we've also got the Jam Dragon Drive, which is also amazing, helps you extend an awful lot, so it does. So yeah, we've got plays for days in this deck. If you want to stick around for more sort of content like this, deck profiles, detailed breakdowns, anything that we really do here, including sort of live gameplay, streams, viewer duels, anything like that at all, feel free to subscribe, like the video. If you do enjoy what you're watching, you might as well. It doesn't cost you anything, it helps me out, it helps you out. Everybody wins. And you can also hop into our Discord if you want to get more involved with the community that we're running and sort of get chatting to me or other people directly. And with that, let's get into game number one. Alrighty, getting into game one here. We're going second, which is a little bit unfortunate. Our opponent's going to go for Dogmatica Ecclesia here off the bat. We are going to hit this with the Ash Blossom, stomping their Ecclesia. I don't think they have any more plays with this hand. Yeah, no, they just end their turn. So not really an awful lot to go up against, but I want to use this as an opportunity to show you some of the combos and plays. We're going to start off with Xiamen here, grabbing Foxy Toon directly from the deck. Foxy Toon, then you can discard her alongside any of your other Punk monsters to summon one straight out from deck. We're going to grab our Wagon. Wagon grabs us the Field Spell, which is awesome, banishing Xiamen from the grave to summon out our Shark. It's going to fusion summon now by paying 600 life points to go into our Raising Carp, and we get to draw a card thanks to our Field Spell. The Field Spell is basically Pot of Greed. You pay, anytime you pay life points for a Psychic monster's effect, you get to boost, draw an extra card. We're now going to activate Carp's effect, summoning out two monsters from the deck here. We summon out Madame Spider to search our deck for a trap card, and Deer Note, which is going to be excellent for synchro summoning, because now we can synchro summon into the Jam Dragon Drive. Jam Dragon's going to grab us a level 3 Psychic monster and either add it to the hand or send it to the graveyard, and Deer Note is going to summon out one of our Punk monsters from the grave. So we're going to revive our Rising Carp. We get to draw our Ghost Ogre, get to search Ghost Ogre to our hand. Look at our hand here. Then we've got the Amazing Dragon. The Amazing Dragon would bounce up to 3 cards on our opponent's field here, right back to their hand. Actually, up to 4 cards on our opponent's field, back to the hand. 4 cards getting bounced all at once. Battle phase, because we use Carp as material, we attack twice with any one of our Punk monsters. So this is, of course, easy lethal. And look at our hand as well. So we've got Veiler, Maxi, Ghost Ogre, Ghost Spell. This is a negate, this is a pop. We've got 6 interruptions in our hand alone. We've got Monster Reborn on this for next turn. We've got some extra draw power on this. Honestly incredible, right? So the way the deck works, as you've seen here, crazy aggressive combos, tons of draw power, and because your deck is relatively concise, you're able to flick through it really easily and draw yourself a bunch of hand traps, which is phenomenal. Honestly, there you go. I appreciate our opponent didn't do very much in that round, but I wanted to give you a chance to look at some of the plays and combos. That was probably a little bit fast for many of you, but keep watching the replays, sort of pay attention to the cards. They're all relatively straightforward, and once you've sort of spotted the combos and the patterns, it'll be super easy for you to play. Let's get in the replay number 2. So here we're going to be going first this time. We've got the Field Spell already, which is sick, and we've got the Foxy Toon, plus any other card really is pretty handy. Ditching both Foxy Toon to the grave to grab ourselves is the Xiamen. We grab here our the Fusion card. We're going to draw one off of our Field Spell. We haven't yet normal summoned, so we're able to just normal summon our Shark, use its effect, pay 600 to Fusion summon, drawing yet again. So we've drawn a Ghost Spell, which is pretty handy. We're going to tribute the Carp. We're going to summon 2 out from deck. The Madame's going to search for us a negate, and the Deer Note is going to help us extend here in just a moment. We'll summon out the Jam Dragon. Jam Dragon's going to grab us a Ghost Ogre, and Deer Note's going to re-summon the monster we used before the fusion summon. So we're going to talk more about this guy right now. So this is sort of what we're looking to do going first. Set 2 pass. So this guy, basically the way he works is that during your turn, you can pay 500 life points to fusion summon. Pretty handy. During your opponent's turn, you can pay 600 life points to synchro summon. So what you want to be doing is you want to be synchro summoning into your Jam Dragon here during your opponent's turn. Or sorry, the Amazing Dragon. This one's the Jam Dragon. So they're going to go circular. We're going to max C in response to the circular effect, of course. Maximum sheesh. Means we're going to start drawing cards like crazy here. It's going to go into the battle phase to try and force us to use our effect early, which is smart. Very well played. We're going to bring out our Amazing Dragon here. We can bounce up to 3 cards back to our opponent's hand. So what this guy does on summon is you count the number of level 3 psychic monsters with different names either on your field or in your graveyard, and you return that many cards on your opponent's field back to the hand. Right now we have 1, we have 2, we have 3. If we had used Ghost Ogre, we would have had 4. But we haven't. So right now we can choose up to 3 cards on our opponent's field and bounce them. Really, really powerful. And we also get to draw a card, which is pretty handy. We draw on the Crossout Designator. Not the most useful card in the world, but pretty decent. They go Ariana. We're going to negate the Ariana with our Infinite Impermanence to stop them from going crazy. That is pretty dope. So it's a mix between Labyrinth and Mathmech, which I thought was really interesting. They can activate their field spell, set 2 cards face down, and pass back to us. Okay, so we've got plenty of plays here. Emergency Teleport being a broken card in this deck. Special Summoning Xiamen straight from the deck, but they're going to go Dogmatica Punishment. Popping our monster and then using their... Basically, they've got a whole bunch of effects that are about to activate here. Labyrinth being the final one, so we can actually chain Ghost Ogre to that to help destroy and subsequently negate the card. Then we'll chain to that our Dangerous Gabu to negate the Ariana. So his monster's now negated. We gain 1600 life. We destroy the field spell, negate it. Entis does resolve to pop our our Amazing Dragon though. But we're so far ahead in this game that it's not even funny. Yeah, we just summon out Carp. We summon out our Foxy-Toon, a Deer Note from our deck. We get Synchro Summoning. We go crazy and we simply win the game from here. And our opponent realized that very, very quickly that they did not stand a chance. And yeah, easy dubs. That is it for game number 2. Let's get into number 3. Already getting into game 3 here, and this is going to be answering the $1 million question here. How well does the deck play against sprites? Now, when your opponent opens up the absolute balls like this, it's a bit of a tough matchup, I'm going to be honest with you. Being able to spam out pretty much every sprite monster onto the field, free him 1. They're going to exceed off now into Gigantic Sprite, into the linked zone for some reason, fair enough. They're going to summon out one of the pink twins here, they're using it to go into Masquerena. Now Sprite Starter's going to summon them another Sprite monster directly from deck, their Sprite Blue, before linking off into Sprite Elf. Sprite Elf does have the ability to resurrect the IP Masquerena. They're going to go into Dagda here as well. It's looking rough, right? It's going to be tight. They're going to dag the set Scythe here from deck. Elf is going to resummon, I believe it was their Masquerena from the graveyard. Carrot from the graveyard. So right now they've got a Spell Negate, Monster Negate, and their Scythe set up. So this is going to be hard here. We're going to go Xiamen. They're going to resurrect the IP Masquerena. We're going to chain to that our Ghost Bell, which hopefully would have stopped it, but unfortunately they do have Call by the Grave, which means that their Elf is in fact going to resolve. Very, very unfortunate for us here. We're just going to have to keep on going and hoping that it works out here. We didn't exactly have the greatest hand. No Ogre Dance, no Foxy-Toon, no E-Teleport. It doesn't exactly set you up for success here. We're going to reveal 2. We're going to get negated by Sprite Red, who tributes Dagda, meaning our Deer Note will in fact get destroyed as well as negated. And that puts us in a very, very rough spot. I don't believe from here, yeah, there was any real play or out, so we have to scoop it up. So I want to show that off because you're going to be in situations where there are very, very key and important cards in your deck that you want to see that will actually facilitate the deck and the turbo, which is why you might want to cut down on the level 3s that you're playing. Foxy-Toon and Ogre Dance, Deer Note, your E-Teleport, all of those are like your real starter cards. You don't really want to be reliant upon your normal summon. You can use your normal summon, of course, but it's not what you want to be basing your entire turn off of. So again, I just wanted to show that the deck isn't invincible. It can be stopped, especially by sprites, so you have a million and one sort of ways to interrupt and negate and survive through your plays. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's get into our fourth and final game. Alrighty, getting into our fourth and final game here, we're going to be going second against heroes here. They're going to fuse together two of their monsters to bring out Elemental Hero Sunrise. One of the monsters they used was the Liquid Soldier, so they do get to draw 2 and then discard 1. Sunrise adding Miracle Fusion from their deck to their hand. So Liquid Soldier then is going to draw them 2. They're going to ditch the Dark Calling, which is pretty interesting. They're not going to fusion summon off into Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. And then I believe they're going to set 2 and pass. Yes, okay, so we got 2 set cards. Sunrise means that whenever, if we were to attack his Absolute Zero, he's basically going to get the ability to pop a card on the field. Absolute Zero, when sent to the graveyard, is going to destroy all monsters on my field. So we're going to go field spell. We're going to normal summon the Sharakusai. Sharakusai is going to get negated by the Imperm. This is what I mean about needing to have one of your big extenders in your hand, and it's a good thing that we have a few options here. We do get to draw a card. We just draw the Xiamen, which is whatever. We're going to ditch one to Grave to summon out the Madame. Now they're going to go Droplet, pitching the Absolute Zero to negate our Madame. That means that Absolute Zero wipes out the field, but it's simply not enough to stop us. We're going to banish one from Grave off the field spell to summon Xiamen, pay 600 off Xiamen to grab our Ogre Dance. Jam Extreme is going to draw us a card. We draw Emergency Teleport, and at that point, our opponent had enough. Again, being able to extend like crazy. We didn't get to play out the turn, which is a little bit unfortunate. I wanted to show off a little bit. But I wanted to show that, there you go, that's an example of how you play without relying upon your normal summon. You use your field spell, which can special summon out from hand. You use your Ogre Dance, your Foxy Tune, your Deer Note, your E-Telly. You can use all of these different strategies to play through Interruption and to play through hand traps, negates, board wipes, and on this occasion he wiped out our entire board of monsters. But yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. Let's get into the deck list. Alright, so here we are looking at the deck list. So I'm going to quickly remove all of the hand traps and everything from the deck, just so we get an idea of what we're looking at, because we play a lot of them, right? We've got double Effect Failure, we've got triple Maxi. I feel like you need to play at least one Ghost Ogre, right? I'm going to keep one in his core. I think one is absolutely mandatory. We're going to go triple Ash Blossom. We got the double Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. We've got the Nib in there. We got double Cult by the Grave. We got Crossout Designator and the double Infinite Impermanence. That is 17 slots with which you can do whatever you want. 17 flex spots, which is insane. Technically, it could be 18, but I feel like you would be an absolute clown not to play Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit at least one. So this is the actual deck list. So it's sort of separated out into low and high level monsters, right? And there's a very clear distinction. Your low level monsters will pay life points to either search a card, or in this card's case, fusion summon. And your Deer Note, your Foxy Tune, and your Ogre Dance are typically how you're going to be special summoning monsters out from your deck, right? So the high level ones facilitate the summoning and comboing of the low level ones. So we're going to talk about the low level monsters first. These three here, Wagon, pay 600 life points, search for a P.U.N.K spell. Madam Spider, pay 600 life points, search for a trap. And Xiamen, pay 600 life points, search for a monster. All really straightforward. Then you've got the Sharakusai. Sharakusai, during your turn, you pay 600 life points. You can fusion summon out a P.U.N.K monster using your hand and veil as material. And during your opponent's turn, you can pay 600 life points to synchro summon a P.U.N.K synchro monster during their turn as a quick effect. So this guy is really the gas that sort of gets the whole thing going, whereas these cards are all here just to search for things. They're all summonable from deck, so you don't really need to play more than one of these two, but you really want to be having multiple Xiamen so you can search for and hopefully summon your Sharakusai. Then you've got your Deer Note, the brand new monster for the deck, and you can reveal this card and another P.U.N.K monster in your hand to special summon either this or the other monster you revealed, and the remaining card is sent to the graveyard. If this card is sent from the field to the grave, you can target a P.U.N.K monster in the graveyard and special summon it, which is amazing for extending out further and further beyond. It means that it basically just replaces itself. The only restriction is it can't be a level 5 monster, but none of your other monsters are level 5, which is pretty dope. So yeah, basically summons out either itself or another monster from hand, and then replaces itself once it's sent to the graveyard from the field. Pretty awesome. It being a level 5 is also super handy, because all of these are level 3 tuners, right? So you can synchro one of these guys off of your level 5 into your Jam Dragon, which is level 8, into your Chaos Ruler, which is level 8. Omega, you can... yeah, we're not going to talk about the extra deck just yet, but yeah. So any of your level 8s, you can use this to go into, and then it replaces itself, and you just go nuts. Then we've got Foxy Tune. Foxy Tune then has 2 effects. The first one of which, you contribute a Punk monster to special summon itself out to the field from the hand, which is fine. You don't often use that effect. Its more prominent effect is you can discard itself to send from your field or your hand to the graveyard an extra card in order to special summon any Punk monster directly from your deck except a level 8. So you discard this and one other card, and you can special summon out Xiamen or Sharakusa or Wagon or whatever it is you need to be summoning, even Deer Note if you need to. So this basically special summons out any Punk from deck, which is absolutely insane. One of the best starters in the deck for sure. Gets you instant access to your Xiamen. You've got Ogre Dance, which can has effects sort of similar to Foxy Tune. Yeah, tribute a Punk monster, special summon itself from hand. That's the exact same. And then the other effect, you can send it from your hand or field to the graveyard to add a Punk monster from your deck to your hand. So this will essentially discard itself to search for any of your other Punks, which is of course really, really good. So it's really similar to Foxy Tune, although it's hard to say which one is better. Foxy Tune, yes, special summons from deck, but it also costs you an extra card, whereas this can just search for anything at the cost of only itself. So it's pretty dope. Both of them are definitely amazing starter cards. 3 of both, absolutely mandatory. Because you're playing so many level 8s, you could probably get away with playing Trade-In, right? Because they're all searchable and everything. You could, if you really wanted to, although it's a little bit gimmicky. You would much rather discard them off their own effects than use Trade-In. Just an option. Then we've got our spell card, our field spell, the Jam Extreme Session, one of the brand new cards for the deck, and this is amazing. It is basically 2 effects. Number 1, you can banish a Punk from your graveyard to special summon any Punk from your hand, which automatically is amazing, because remember, virtually every monster you summon is going to extend into more cards. It really does help you play through Interruption as well, because you're not as worried about getting impermed or veilered or anything on your normal summon, so it helps you play through Interruption as well, which is dope. Secondary to that, if you pay life points to activate the effects of a Psychic type monster, you then get to draw a card, and you can do that up to twice per turn. So not only does it give you an extra special summon, it's also Pot of Greed. Absolutely amazing. Emergency Teleport, special summon any level 3 or lower Psychic monster from your deck, so you're able to bring out any of your Punk monsters. Absolute no-brainer. This card is broken. Then we've got the Dangerous Gabu. So Dangerous Gabu and our Nashawari Surprise. I hate these names. God damn it. But basically, these cards can be searched off of your Madame Spider. So we're playing one of each. This one essentially negates a face-up monster, and this one pops a card. Right? Both super simple. And last card in the deck that we haven't really talked about is Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. And the reason we want to be playing at least one of this card, it's a hand trap. It's a really powerful hand trap at the minute. Whenever your opponent's monster activates its effect, or if they activate the effect of a spell or a trap card that was already face up on the field, like a field spell, i.e. Runic Fountain, then you can discard this card to destroy the monster or whatever card it was that activated the effect. This card is really good in this meta because it counters Gigantic Sprite, it counters Runic Fountain, it counters a lot of the big cards at the minute. So absolutely, Snow Rabbit is amazing, and it's searchable as part of your main combo off of your Jam Dragon. This card, whenever it's summoned, will grab any level 3 or lower level 3 Psychic monster directly from your deck, making this card searchable. Really, really good. That's it for the main deck. Really straightforward. And the entirety of the rest of the main deck, let me just bring the full list back up here. The rest of the main deck is really straightforward. Like, it's just hand traps. Just whatever ones you have room for, just throw them in. It doesn't matter. You have enough room to fit in virtually anything you want. If you even want to dump some hand traps and instead play board breakers, you want to play some Raigeki, some Feather Duster, you want to play some Lightning Storm, Dark Ruler No More is a good one. By all means, whatever suits you. You've got 17 slots to play with. Go nuts. Getting into the extra deck, we have Rising Carp. I would be super tempted to play this card at 2, to be honest. It's that good. So this card, basically, you can tribute it to summon any 2 punk monsters from different names from your deck, except level 8s. So you need to summon out, what you'll normally do is you'll summon out one of your searchers, so either Wagon or Madame Spider, and then you'll summon Deer Note. And then that's when you just sort of start synchro summoning and going crazy. It's a fusion monster, so you just summon this right off of your Sharakusai's effect, which is insane. So it basically gets you a search and a Deer Note. Deer Note then of course helps you extend like crazy. Also, if this card is used as synchro material for a synchro summon of a punk monster, you can target a punk on your field and it can make a second attack during that battle phase that turn, which makes this card insane for enabling OTKs off of your Amazing Dragon. Absolutely insane card. Definitely, I'm super tempted to put this up to 2. If I had a second copy, I would probably do that and drop the Omega. Speaking of Omega, the next card on the list, initially we had this in here because we were playing Gamma. We were playing Psyframe Gear Gamma. I dropped the Gamma because most of your effects actually take place when you've already got monsters on the board. The only one that Gamma protects, really, is your... It protects your emergency teleport. It protects Foxy Toon and Ogre Dance if you have nothing on the field yet. So, I mean, it does have its uses. You can definitely play Gamma if you want to. It just wasn't for me, you know? Initially, I was playing it, but I decided to drop it. But it is what it is. So, Omega isn't so useful in this version of it anymore, but it's still a really, really solid generic level 8 synchro monster. You can basically banish this card off of your field to snipe a random card in your opponent's hand until the end of the next turn, just making it a little bit harder for them to play the game. So you can of course play Omega, it is up to you. I would definitely replace it with a second Carp though, or maybe a second Dragon, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, let me put it back in for now. Then we've got Chaos Ruler, which is of course insane. Whenever it's summoned, you excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you hit a light or a dark monster among them, you get to add it to your hand. So it's an easy way to grab yourself a Foxy Toon or an Ogre Dance. You can also banish a light and a dark monster from your graveyard in order to special summon itself from the grave. So being able to banish the likes of your... you'll need to banish basically a Foxy Toon and an Ogre Dance because everything else is Earth. You also have a couple of hand traps that sort of take up some attributes, but normally it'll be a Foxy Toon and an Ogre Dance. To resummon itself back to the field, which you can then use to extend into some pretty damn cool Exceed monsters. We've got the Jam Dragon Drive. This card's incredible as well. So whenever it's summoned, either by synchro summoning or being summoned by the effect of a punk card, so it can be just resurrected from the graveyard by, say, your Amazing Dragon, or whatever it is you can use to revive this card back to the field. You get to pay 600 life points, grab any level 3 Psychic monster from your deck, and either add it to your hand or pitch it to the grave, making your Ghost Ogre searchable, while also potentially for turn 3, turn 4, you can pitch one of your other monsters to the grave to give you more names for your Amazing Dragon. So really, really solid. If your opponent activates a card or effect in response to a punk card or effect while this is in your graveyard, you can special summon it so it will revive itself as well if your opponent attempts to negate one of your punk cards. It doesn't stop the negation or anything like that, it just resummons itself, which will then allow you to potentially search for a second Ghost Ogre, which is why I think running 2 is definitely important. You can get away with 1, but I think 2 is just so much better. So yeah, no, the Jam Dragon, pretty good. You can possibly cut this card down to 1, because it can resummon itself very easily. If you really wanted to play 2 of our next card we're going to talk about, the Amazing Dragon. Whenever it's summoned, you get the target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 Psychic monsters with different names on your field and in the grave, and bounce them all back to hand. You're literally going to be bouncing 2, 3, 4 cards back to your opponent's hand with this card. Absolutely incredible. And then once per turn, you get to target a punk monster in the graveyard and just special summon it straight out to the field. Bear in mind, you can only use each effect once per turn, but the fact that you're normally summoning this during your opponent's turn means that that restriction doesn't really matter all that much. So basically, it bounces a bunch of cards back to their hand, and then you can basically resurrect any of your punk monsters, which is incredible. A lot of people play this at 2. I would probably agree with them, yeah. I would say I'd probably play 2 of this and 2 of this. Drop the Omega, drop Jam Dragon down to 1. Of course, I just don't have the UR credits for these just yet, but you know what? We'll get there, we'll get there. So I would definitely play 2 of and 2 of if I had them. Psychic and Punisher. This card is incredible as well. Being a level 11, which is so ridiculously easy to summon in this deck, it was almost built for it. So while your life points are lower than your opponent's life points, this card is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. You're constantly paying life points to activate effects, so you'll normally be lower at least during the first turn or two. Then you can pay 1,000 life points to target a monster in your field, and any card your opponent controls to banish both, further creating another gap in your life points, lowering it down by another 1,000. That effect will also trigger your field spell if you happen to have not already drawn 2 cards just yet. You probably already have, but it's something worth noting that you can trigger it using this guy's effect here. Then during the battle phase, you can take advantage of the gap in the life points that you're creating by once per turn at the start of the battle phase, boosting his attack points by the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points. That is a permanent boost, and it is boosted by the difference, which means if there's a 2,000 difference in your life points and theirs, he will go up by 2,000 every single turn or every single time you activate that effect. So this card's absolutely incredible. Really good at closing games, really good at being at this sort of like really defensive card as well if you're in a really tough spot or a losing position. So the Psychic and Punisher, for sure an amazing card. Getting into these 2 cards, so these 2 in particular, you're not going to use very often, I'm going to be real with you. So Fortune Tune or Fortune Tune, whatever, if this card would be destroyed, you can attach a material instead. Once per standby phase, gain 500 life. If it's sent from field to graveyard, target 2 level 3s, shuffle them both into the deck, and then return this to the extra deck. This card is sort of just whatever. It's a bit of a defensive thing, more so than off. I very, very rarely use this card, to be perfectly honest with you. I think our next monster, the Cicada King, is a much better rank 3 monster, but it's still not one you use very often. You can basically detach a material, target a monster, negate its effects. I'm not sure if that's a quick effect, is it? I don't even think it is. But no, the Cicada King is better, but it's still not amazing or anything like that. Then we got our rank 8s. We've got the Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. We've got the Hope Harbinger. We've got our Zombie Vampire. Useful cards, although yet again something you're not going to use super often. The Zombie Vampire is a pretty interesting one because basically you'll mill the top 4 cards of both your deck and your opponent's deck to the graveyard. You can choose any monster among them and summon it to your field, which is pretty dope because it helps you extend an awful lot, especially if you hit one of your own punk monsters. Then Hope Harbinger, basically just a spell negate, and number 90 is just a monster negate. Pretty just good generic Exceed cards. You've got the Zeus as well. Zeus is just to take full advantage of one of these guys after you utilize their effects. If you're not too fussed on the Exceed package, or if you're really looking for room in your deck to play more cards in your extra deck, then feel free to cut some of these guys down. I think Fortune Tune, the Cicada King, they're both fine. They're not the greatest cards in the world. I think Zeus, you don't focus too much on your extra deck, so you can maybe even get rid of Zeus, to be honest, to play more Link monsters. But it is entirely up to yourself. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Speaking of Link monsters, we've got IP Masquerena, of course, and our Nightmare Unicorn, just generic Link package, so you can do whatever you need to do during your opponent's turn, bouncing one of their cards back to their deck. Pretty solid. Now, is this a finished list? I think this is pretty damn close to finished. The deck is really straightforward. I feel like literally these are the ratios that you want to be playing. You might cut this down to 2, maybe? Maybe? Like, there's no real reason to. I think you just want to be playing as many of these good cards as you possibly can, or that you want to. So I think the main deck itself is perfectly fine. There's plenty of things you can splash into and mix with punks in order to create these sort of interesting hybrids, but I think this deck is pretty much fine as it is. In terms of the extra deck, after playing it for a bit, there are a few things I would maybe change. I would focus less on Exceed summoning for a start. So I would maybe replace these 2. I would probably drop Zeus, to be honest with you. And I would play more Link monsters. I would almost certainly play Access Code Apollosa, and I would like the Underworld Goddess as well. I would like her because you can really spam cards out of the field. So I think this is fine. I would rather play these than those random sort of weaker Exceeds. You can maybe cut hers and keep your Zeus in if you want to. Zeus is fine alongside the Zombie Vampire. But yeah, that's the general idea of the deck. What you want to do with it from here is entirely up to you. There's a lot of different ways you can play it, and it does take a little bit of practice to find the way that suits you best. I've been rambling on long enough about it. But the deck is definitely a whole lot of fun. It's going to be a real contender in the meta. I think it's going to be one of the better rogue decks, for sure. And I look forward to seeing more of it. So if you've got this far into the video and you haven't subscribed yet for whatever reason, I would implore you to do so and like the video, because obviously you like what you're seeing if you're listening to me say this right now. So I'd appreciate it if you'd like the video as well. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.